So I've started recording. That means we're live. Your phone should be put away, please. Your distracting tabs should be closed. I don't need much of your time today. We're going to start off with some SMART goals. You may have heard of these before. You may have not. Either way, it's good to have a refresher or good to be aware of how to make your to-do lists actually get finished. It's the hardest part that I find as an adult. Sure, you set a to-do list and it feels like you got something done, but it's hard to actually follow through with that sometimes, given the way everything kind of happens really fast. And so by thinking about SMART goals, which is an acronym, SMART, each letter in SMART stands for something different. You can actually start making plans and actually start achieving the things that you want to do. Hold on, let me put the captions over here. The things that you want to do, and you can start building kind of this habit of doing stuff in a way that makes you just more productive as a person. So I have this really quick PowerPoint that I want to go through. I now have access to that future ready Canvas page. So I have a bunch of different activities that I can pull from. I do want to say that these slides are a tiny bit dated. They are made by an older individual for sure. And I can't exactly get them to work very well in a PowerPoint sense. So just bear with me for a second, be flexible. We're going to talk about this SMART goals thing right here. I forgot to go over the agenda. It's the first thing we have in mind. I have a worksheet on the desk here that'll help you figure out your work style. And there's a little bit of reflection that will go into that today. And then I have this digital citizenship PowerPoint. I know you guys have heard a lot from adults about the dangers of the internet. So I'm not going to take it in that direction, but there is some things that are really important that you'd be aware of, especially now that we exist on the internet. And there's no way around it, so you have to know how to do it safely and effectively. It's kind of our outline for the day. I want you guys to understand how to set SMART goals, set them for this class and for after your high school future. We don't have to do all of that today, but that's my goal for this portion of the unit. Next thing I want you to be aware of is some aspects of digital citizenship. And then finally, understand a little bit more about your work style specifically. All right, so SMART goals. We got some learning objectives here. We want to be able to list the elements of a SMART goal. We want to be able to create SMART goals for whatever goal you end up needing, whether that's a personal goal, professional goal, academic goal, like a goal with a hobby, a goal with a relationship, right? This applies to anything that you want to work towards. And then finally, we're going to develop, we won't do the action plan today, but we will develop a goal that we can build an action plan out of. You have to count how many times I say goal, and if you can tell me at the end, see if it's the high score. Okay, anyway, because this is made by an individual who is not me. There are some quotes of the day on here. If you're interested in reading some quotes about goals, I'm not going to go through them because I know you know how to read. But they're all basically saying, if you have a plan, it makes things a lot easier to get stuff done as compared to just trying to do it live every day, right? No script, just off the dome. We're going to be able to set some goals at the end of the day. Yeah,
actually might be able to read them all because sometimes books often inspire you to do better.
Exactly. And we can go, I'll make this PowerPoint available so you can go back and read those when you want to. Okay, sorry, SMART goals. This is the acronym for SMART goals. We're going to start with specific. Specific is the S in SMART goals, and it's going to be your ability to outline how in detail your goal is going to get done. The example I used in third period is I want to learn to cook better. That's my kind of general goal. But just saying learning to cook better doesn't really give me any kind of plan or any type of thing that I can act on, blah, blah, blah. All of that is to say is I can't see that goal happening very well besides just kind of keeping track with myself, which is another thing that I maybe don't want to do. It's not something that I particularly want to think about every day. So by setting a SMART goal and starting with specifics, I can go, how do I want to cook better? Okay. Do I want to cook better by eating out less or getting less takeout? Or do I want to cook better by making more meals, right? I need to be specific in how I want to do that. There are a couple guiding questions. You don't have to answer exactly these, but they help you find the specific aspects of your goal. We'll stick with wanting to cook better for my purposes. What do I want to accomplish? What am I trying to do by learning to cook better? I'm trying to not feel like crap all the time. I'm trying to save some money. I'm trying to learn a skill. There's a lot of different specific things that cooking entails. Why is this goal important, right? It's just a good skill to know. Who is involved? It's only me. It's located in my kitchen. And what resources or limits are involved? This is probably one of the most important aspects of the S part of your SMART goal, the specific parts. What's going to get in the way of this goal being accomplished? In this case, in your adult life, it could be time, energy, and money are the three kind of big ones that are always going to be something that you have to consider. So that's going to be the same thing for my specifics here. There's an example in this PowerPoint if you would like, but it's kind of talking about your goal is just you want to become the head of marketing. How could you specifically become the head of marketing, right? The next letter in SMART goal is measurable. This is M. This is how you're going to keep track of the goal happening. If we scroll back to this real quick, the MAR of SMART goals all kind of relate to one another. Specific overlaps, how each of these reflects, and then time bound we'll get to. But MAR, the middle three are really important that they relate to one another because this is how you're able to actually keep track of your goal happening. So let's go to measurable. Oh, sorry. Measurable, all right? How are you going to keep track of your goal? How am I going to keep track that I'm cooking better or cooking at all? It's pretty easy. I can measure that by saving money. I can measure that by getting takeout less. I can measure that by making my own stuff at home. There's a lot of different things that I can keep track of to know that this goal is working, as compared to just saying, oh, I want to cook better and leaving it at that. Some questions you want to be considering with measurableness is how much do you want to measure it? How many times do you want to measure it? And the biggest one right here, this third one, is how do you know when it's accomplished? All of these are aspects of that M part of your SMART goal. There's another example if you'd like to read that later. A, we're just moving through. Hi, good morning. The A in SMART goals is for achievable. We want to set realistic goals because then you can actually meet them. If I wanted to say I wanted to feed a family of 12 a 5-course meal, it's not a very achievable goal while we're all here at Skyline for a majority of our days, the majority of our daylight time, right? By setting achievable goals, sometimes achievable goal is get through the day. I've had those days before, right? By doing the goal and completing it and making it achievable, if you get that satisfaction, you get the completionist part of being like, oh, I did it. Cool. I can keep doing it now. Yeah.
I think saying get through the day sounds over achievable.
Yeah.
I think the only circumstance where it may not be achievable is if your life is in danger.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I mean with achievable goals, right? The biggest thing on achievableness is you have to set a realistic goal. We have to start small. All of this is to say we need to start in things that we can get done by the end of the period, because then you check the thing off your to-do list and that snowballs, that momentum will carry you through a lot of the day just by being aware that, you know, stuff is getting done. It's hard. SMART goals are kind of the main antagonist to procrastination. I am a horrible procrastinator. I am the worst procrastinator I've ever met, for context into Mr. Blakeney, right? If you think about the thing you're trying to accomplish by breaking it down into the SMART, the procrastination fear, the overwhelmingness gets a little bit easier because now you have 5 different paths that you can think about through that thing that you're trying to do. And those will make more sense once we finish all the letters. We're only at SMAL currently. Okay, moving on from achievable, we have an example and then relevance. This is things that you want to set your goal to be about you. A big theme in setting goals and becoming a more productive person is learning what you can control and learning what you cannot control. And then you make your decisions only based off what you can control. Like, for example, I know that what I can control in second period is I have the plan, I have some things to tell you, and that's it. I can't control your minds. I can't tell you to do things and make them happen necessarily. Like, you know what I mean when I say that. But I can only control myself. So I'm going to set a relevant goal, or a relevant piece of my goal, or a piece of my goal should be relevant to things that I have influence over, things that I can make the change about. Also on relevance is kind of considering if this goal is worth your time. Let's go back to the example of learning to cook better. That's relevant to me because I would like to survive. I enjoy living. So I probably should eat in a way that would help me continue living, right? I want it to be relevant to my life and benefit my life in some way, whatever this goal is. Yeah. One last thing I'll consider on relevant, making your goal actually important to your life, is thinking about if this is the right time. This is a question that I feel like I skip a lot when I'm trying to make a plan on stuff I'm trying to do. Is this the right time? Is this the right spending of my energy on this thing? One of the ways that I procrastinate, for some more context, is I get distracted very easily. So if I have something to do, like grading or lesson planning in a teacher's example, I would much rather clear out my email inbox, or I would much rather make some copies or do anything that does not mean the thing that I don't want to do. So you need to understand what is the right time to focus on the thing. It's an important part of relevance. It helps you decide what needs more of your energy at that current time. Another thing, just kind of another little asterisk, is this goal possible in your current socioeconomic status, right? A goal for me cannot be buy a spaceship or a trip on a spaceship, SpaceX, whatever they do with the billionaires. Not applicable to me, does not matter. So I'm not going to consider that in any of my goal setting process. Okay, we're on to the final letter, which is time bound. This is one of the most important letters in a SMART goal. By setting a window for yourself, then you can see how to break the assignment down or how to break the thing down into pieces that you can get done today. That's how I like to approach SMART goals, is I have one big SMART goal, which we'll set here in a second. And then I think, what can I do every day that makes my life a little bit easier or makes your life a little bit easier, right? By setting a time-bound goal, you can actually start prepping and planning, and then you have a window to work with so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming, and you can make a little bit of progress in a day as compared to trying to do it all an hour before it's supposed to be done, right? It's all thinking about time, obviously, with being time bound. This is kind of what I was talking about with relevance. A tip for setting a SMART goal specifically, or just any goal in general, anything that you're trying to accomplish, you want to avoid setting goals that someone else has power over, right? You can only control what you can control. And the faster you guys learn that, the better off you will be, right? It's things like this that will help you understand what you have the ability to influence, what you have the ability to make happen. So for cooking, for example, because I'm only cooking for myself, I'm only responsible for myself and my cat, but like, I don't cook for her. I should. Anyway, I'm only responsible for feeding myself. I'm not trying to influence someone else's cooking or eating plan. I'm not trying to influence like your guys' plan in the sense that I'm telling you how to do it, but I only can control myself. And so that's going to be the overline of my goal setting process. So here's a breakdown of the progression of writing a SMART goal. You can think of each of these letters like a question of itself, just to kind of fill out a different aspect of this goal that will give you a kind of glimpse into the future of what it could look like completing this goal, right? This is all kind of relevant to earn a position managing a development team for a startup tech company is the example that, that this PowerPoint provides. And then they've got a measurable question. How do you do it with the number 3? It's achievable. So how do you achieve that? I will update my resume, blah, blah, blah. Apply to the 3 open positions from measurable. Relevant, how do you achieve the goal? You achieve it by making a change that you can control, updating my resume with relevant qualifications, go back to that 3 open positions. And then finally, the time boundness aspect. This is kind of like a staircase. We start with the general, and then we move our way down to specific information. And time bound is going to be, I'm going to finish it by this week. So now I have a window to work with. I have 5 work days, so to speak, or 7 calendar days to break down these different pieces into stuff that I can do in an hour instead of doing it all in 5 or 6. So, and there's a bunch of examples in this PowerPoint, which I will attach to the agenda so you can see it later, right? There's another example, and then there's one more example. We're going to focus just right here on this month. So now it's your guys' turn to set a SMART goal just for the end of the week. Let me pull up your thread. Sorry, hold on. There we go. So on your thread, if we go to Wednesday, there's this SMART goals link right here where we've talked about what are they, we're going to set them, and then we're going to go right here to this after high school plans section. The SMART goals page is just kind of breaking down the stuff that we're going to be doing this unit. but I want you to focus right here on this after high school plans link in your agenda. If you click on that, this is your assignment due on Friday. So I want you guys to create your own SMART goal for the end of just this week, okay? You want to be more specific than I want to get an A on my test, okay? That's a great goal, but we need to break it down into steps that make it a little bit easier to understand. I've provided here this SMART goals worksheet, which I can print you a paper copy if you would prefer that, which has little questions that you can answer about the overarching goal that you set that will break it down into these SMART categories. Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Okay, what's up?
when I download it, it's a PDF, so.
Oh, you can't edit it? Okay, so if anybody would like a paper copy of the SMART goals, I can print you one, or you can just copy the questions into like a Word doc, because I thought it was editable. That is my bad. So ignore the action plan, ignore the second part for now. We're just focusing on setting, sorry, my gum's in my way. We're just focused on setting these SMART goals. All right. This can be anything that you want to do. This can be a personal goal. This can be an academic goal. This can be a job or a goal in your workplace environment, right? Hi, good morning. Thank you. This can be a goal, whatever you want it to do, as long as it answers each of these letters, you will have a way more easy to understand plan for how this goal could happen. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to spend about 15-20 minutes setting a goal for this week. I'm going to be walking around and making sure that you're checking each of these letters, giving them a try, right? I can imagine that some of you might be thinking this is kind of dumb, kind of busy work, maybe some waste of time. I don't assume that you're all thinking that, but if you are, if you're curious about something like that, it doesn't have to be a novel. Right? You just have to give a little bit more information for each of these letters, and your goal will rapidly grow into something that you can way more easily accomplish. This is me saying I want you to trust this process. I know a lot of teachers sometimes you're wondering like, why are we doing this? Why does it matter? Trust me on this. Trust the process. You will start to see the results almost immediately. Okay, that's the end of my soapbox. Raise your hand if you would like a paper copy of the sheet, please. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll just print like 15 and then you can come grab one. All right, so I'm going to end the Zoom room for now. We'll get back in for digital citizenship in a second. Spend about 15 minutes, 10:45 or so. I'll be checking your SMART goals here in just a sec. Thank you guys for listening. We're going off the air. All right, so changing our class format up just a second. Thank you. I'm actually going to switch to my doc cam and have the camera running. It's a little bit awkward because I don't have like the highest resolution camera, but you can still see what I'm working on. Let me do this. It's a work in progress for sure. Okay, so first you want to look up at the projector screen, and then I will show it to the Zoom room so that you have 2 different avenues for how this could look. Most importantly, we're going to start on the projector screen right here. Okay, so bear with the camera for a second. It'll make more sense. This is the work styles little activity. This should take you about 5 minutes to complete, 5-10 minutes or so. And your job is to, on each of these quadrants, circle the word that resonates the most with you. It's important that you don't think about it too hard, because once you start thinking, you're going to start going, oh, maybe that's not me, or it becomes too conditional or what have you. Try to avoid that. It is a very, very tough habit to break, but try to avoid it. Yeah, Leo.
What if none of them?
Then you don't have to circle any. If none of them apply to you, then you don't have to circle any of them at all. You only circle out of these words here the ones that best describe how you are at school, or how you are at your job, or how you are, just whichever ones resonate with you the most. That's the most important aspect. So if you're watching in the Zoom room, I'm going to do one of these real quick. The work style sheet, you're just circling the words that make the most sense to you, that track the most with your experience, that track the most with your ideals of work, right? And then once you do that, we're going to move on to the next part. Just circle them for now. We're going to take about 5 minutes tops, and then we'll go on to the next piece. So I'm gonna do one too. I'm gonna do it on the Zoom room. Actually, I'll do it on the screen too. But let me just pause this so we can come back to it later. Okay, so, sorry. So like I was saying, you want to look at this sheet that you've completed here with all your different circles. And now you're going to add up each of these values. I'll show you how to do that here right now. And then this will give you your quadrant. Your quadrant is a pretty general breakdown of your working style. And it's something to consider how you function with others and how you like to approach tasks in general. So to do this, you take all of the words that are not bold, the ones that are light in font, much lighter in color, and those are worth 1 point. You add those up for each quadrant, and then we'll move on to the bold pieces. So for example, idealistic is not bold, makes groups or mixes in groups is easily, enjoys popularity, likes variety. None of those are bold. So those are worth 1 point. So I'm going to put 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm going to put a 1 next to all of my not bold circled ones. Now the bold circled ones are worth 5 points. They're worth 5 total points. They're worth 5 points. So you're going to add 5 for each bold one that you have circled. Mine, I have enthusiastic, creative. I think those are the only 2. And now I'm going to add all of these numbers together. So 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gives me 18 total. I did this kind of backwards, my apologies. I'm going to count the non-bold ones first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 goes in that first line. Count the bold ones. I have 2. That's worth 10 points. That gives me 18 total. And then we're going to repeat for the other quadrants. And the number that you have that's the highest is your work style, which I will pass out here in just a second. So for the Zoom room example, you are taking, turn the slide off. You're taking all the ones that you've circled that are not bold, and you are adding them up as 1. And then all the ones that are bold get added up as 5 total. So like, for example, if we, geez. Sorry. Give me just a second to do some Zoom room stuff. I have an idea. Okay, so I'll just do it upside down. Sorry, we're learning a lot. We're doing it live. Okay, so I'm going to take all of my non-bold options, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that goes in this first box right here. And then I'm going to count all of my bolded options, which are worth 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, just 3 of them. So I'm going to put a 3. So it should be like that, an upside down 3. Bear with me, right? 10 plus 3 times 5 is 15. That's going to give me a total of 25. So I need to think about how these numbers happen in reverse. I think that's wrong. Yep, that's backwards. Dang it. Okay. 25, like that. All right, and I'll do the same thing for the other ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. I had no bold, so that's 0. And that's going to give me a total of 4. Okay, and then on this last section right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. 7 on that one. Oh, I did it backwards. Curses. Let's count the bolds. 1, 2. That's going to give me a total of 17. Right there. Okay, so my 4 quadrant totals. For quadrant 1, I have 18. For quadrant 2, I have 25. For quadrant 4, if we're going this direction, right to or left to right, I mean. For quadrant 4, I got 4, and for quadrant 3, I got 17. That makes quadrant 2 my main work style, and I want you to circle the work style that has the highest number on your sheet, and you can see that here on the dot cam. So here's what mine looks like. Ignore the backwards numbers as best you can, and then add up your totals. So while you're adding up your totals, I'm going to pass out the next part of this assignment. So
I guess But I think sometimes it goes.
The last part of this section, you should have your quadrant circled. Mine's backwards and stuff, so just hope, sorry. And you should have this sheet that goes along with it. So this second sheet is what breaks down. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Nope, I can't. All right, fine. So this second sheet is what's breaking down some of your effective traits in general. And again, this is generally speaking, you are not locked into these roles. You don't have to participate in these things, but it does give you a breakdown for yourself, your own work style, and equally importantly, other people's work style, which we'll get into here in just a second. Ignore this too many part. When I found this worksheet, I didn't understand what I was supposed to do with that. So you can just ignore the too many part, too many things on the bottom. They don't serve our purposes. Okay, so quadrant number 1 is named the promoter. There's a little bit of a description of the promoter type. If you got the quadrant 1 section right here, you can read about that if you'd like, see if it resonates with you. But the most important part I want you guys to see are these 2 boxes right here. Okay, your effective traits and your ineffective traits, which I don't like the terminology of. We're going to call that areas for growth instead, because we don't exist to be effective. We exist to have fun and do what needs to get done, right? So I don't like that terminology. We're going to call that room for growth. All right, quadrant number 1, some of your effective traits, things that you do super well. Imagination, creativity. You can see the vision of things. You're idealistic. You're very much an idea type of person. You're enthusiastic about what you do and you innovate, right? Each of these quadrants has their own sets of effective traits. Like, what did I get? I'm quadrant 2. So according to this, my effective traits are I'm understanding, gentle, loyal, cooperative, sensitive, diplomatic, and appreciative, right? That's all great information, but we already know that about ourselves. The important part comes into these next 2 boxes right here. These areas for growth are things that you should consider about yourself when you're approaching a task that requires work, whether that is schoolwork, whether that is like weightlifting or exercise, for example, that takes work, whether that's maintaining a relationship, whether with your friends, with a partner, with your parents, with your extended family, whatever, anything that takes work, this is something that's going to maybe get in the way of that for your type. So consider these. Remember, these are not fallbacks. These are not deal breakers for you. These are just things that your type of worker can sometimes fall into the trap of. And the reason I'm putting so much kind of butter and qualifying on this ineffective traits right here is because it moves into the next section of how to relate. This piece of information right here is probably the most informative piece on this assignment. This tells you how to relate to other people with this work style. So for example, if you look at quadrant 2, this is how you can best relate to Mr. Blakeney in a working sense. These are the things that you can do for the most success to have a good work environment and get the things that you need to get done by considering how to relate to the other person's work style. Okay? A lot of these are pretty, be friendly, be positive, and listen, right? It's not a lot to ask. These are things that you could very easily do, and they are pretty general, but this how to relate section is the quickest way to understand how to best support that type of worker. So if you want to best support Mr. Blakeney, let's say we were coworkers, I would need you to focus on your personal values and listen to me actively in order to do my part the best. So each of you has a part that's effective traits. Each of you has a part that's room for growth. And now you have this document to understand how to relate to each different people's work styles. And the only part that I want you to submit for this assignment is to go to the comments on your SMART goal and comment your quadrant. Okay, so I would go into my SMART goal and comment just the words quadrant 2 or quadrant 2 supporter, whatever works for you. That's the part that you need to keep track of so that you can go back and refer to later. And I can also use as information when we do some group stuff in class. Does all that make sense? I know that was a lot of talking, kind of blacked out there for a second. Okay, cool. I'll show the Zoom room now. If you're watching on the Zoom room, you got your ineffective traits on the side. Sorry, excuse me. I don't like that term. Effective traits, this is your stuff you're good at. Ineffective traits, we're calling room for growth because I don't like the fact that we're being ineffective. Things that you could be aware of when you're working with other people. And then that most important third section right here, how to relate to each different type of work style. So if you're a quadrant 2 and you're working with a quadrant 1 on some type of job, you can look at this quadrant 1 how to relate section and understand how to best support them. And they can do the same thing. The quadrant 2 or the quadrant 1 worker can look at the quadrant 2's how to relate section, which is right here. And both of you can become more effective teammates in whatever you're trying to accomplish. Does all that make sense? Okay, cool. The only thing you need to submit just one last time is the name of your quadrant as a comment on Smart.1, ASSN Smart.1. So I would comment quadrant 2 supporter because that's my most effective section. Does anybody have any questions on what I'm asking of this? Okay, cool. So we don't have to, we will skip the digital citizenship for today because I've talked a lot and I imagine you're starting to lose me a little bit, which is totally fine. I'm starting to lose myself, just to be totally honest. So your 2 items of business for today, you need to post your SMART goal for the end of the week. So if you still need to finish that up, and you also need to comment your work style quadrant on that submission so that you can have a better understanding of how to work with other people and how to get stuff done. Are the 2 big kind of takeaways from today's lessons. Sound good? Okay, I'll be wondering if you have any questions. I think we have 15 minutes left right? Yeah, we do. Okay, cool. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it very much. The rest of the time is yours. If you have any questions, flag me down and I'm happy to help you.